Hey there, it's Ashton again. In this video, I want to talk to you about the brainwave entrainment audios and the missing link. Now, in the last video, I mentioned that brainwave entrainment is only 1/4 of the total missing link program. However, that does not mean by any sense that any time, energy, or thought was skimped in creating the way these audios work. As I mentioned, this has been a passion of mine for over 10 years, so it was something that was very important to me that we made of very high quality. So in general, I know some of you guys are probably a little more interested in the more technical or detailed aspects of brainwave entrainment and the missing link, and I've left a couple links below this video that you can check out if you want to dig deeper. However, there are 4 main things that I want you to understand about the audios and the missing link. And the very first thing has to do with the fact that we use binaural beats and isochronic tones. Now, if you're familiar with other creators of brainwave entrainment products, you might have heard that isochronic tones are better than binaural beats. A lot of people use this as a selling point when they're trying to market their audios. And there is some truth to this. However, in my opinion, that's not totally true. So the benefit of isochronic tones is that if you plug someone's brain up to an EEG machine and you start measuring their response, you are going to notice a much stronger response to the isochronic tones audio than you would a binaural beats audio. So in general, it's believed that they get a more fast entrainment and they bring you into maybe a more deep immersive brainwave state than the binaural beats. However, binaural beats can do a couple things that isochronic tones just simply can't do. And in my opinion, those things are still very important. One of the things is that binaural beats are a lot more effective in bringing you into more of an altered state of consciousness. And in my opinion, as you're learning to meditate, kind of exploring this more mystical side of yourself, I think these states, these altered states, are not only fascinating, but important for you to be able to explore, for you to get that, I guess we could say, variety in your consciousness and your experience. Now, if you're interested in this side of things, I highly recommend that you check out the work of Dr. Robert Monroe and the Monroe Institute. They have done, over the years, some absolutely fascinating work with binaural beats and these altered states of consciousness. Unfortunately, we don't have the time to go into that right now, but the other thing about binaural beats that's really important to understand, and this is the main reason why they're included in the missing link, is this. Let me briefly just kind of spell out how binaural beats work. So don't mind my very crude drawing here, but you've got your headphones, and binaural beats work by playing 2 different frequencies, one in either ear. So for this, let's say 70 hertz in this ear, and let's say 60 hertz in this ear. Now what happens when your brain hears these 2 differing frequencies is it actually takes the difference from those and creates its own frequency, and that's what your brain follows. So in this case, the difference between 60 and 70 is 10 hertz. So your brain begins producing brainwaves at 10 hertz, which in this case would be an alpha brainwave state. Now what gets interesting is when you lower these frequencies, let's say we drop these down to 30 hertz, and 20 hertz. The difference between the 2 is still 10 hertz. So your brain is still making that same 10 hertz brainwave state. But what's fascinating about this is what's been found is that when you lower these carrier frequencies, or we could just say sound frequencies of these binaural beats, you get a very interesting effect where it has a much stronger effect on the nervous system, a much stronger effect on your brain. And what's been found is if you gradually lower these carrier frequencies over the course of a certain period of time, it moves you through a sort of progression or a sort of evolution of your brain. This was first discovered by Bill Harris. You might have heard of him, the creator of the very popular program HoloSync. And if you've noticed, the HoloSync program will move you through different levels over a very long period of time. And that's what they're doing. They're lowering these carrier frequencies. And what's been found is when you do this, you begin to develop much more kind of a sense of self-awareness. It has a tendency to help bring previously unconscious material, maybe limiting beliefs or repressed emotional stuff that you previously couldn't get out with your conscious mind, into your awareness so you can deal with it, so you can transcend it. And it also has a tendency to just give you a sort of mental, emotional resilience over time. So I did the HoloSync program myself for several years, and it was very profound for me. I felt like it really had a powerful effect on me, and it changed my life for the better. And I felt like that was incredibly important to include in the missing link. Now, the one thing about the missing link is because you're alternating from a binaural beats audio to an isochronic tones audio every other day, I move the carrier frequencies down a little bit more quickly in this program. So at the end, you're in a pretty low carrier frequency. The reason I did this is because you're only listening every other day to that binaural beats track, it has less of a tendency to overload you or push your brain too hard. So the second thing I want you to understand about the missing link is just the general orchestration of the audios. There are a couple different opinions on how to create a brainwave entrainment audio, and especially a meditation audio where you're bringing someone into those deeper brainwave states. Some people believe that the audio should start, say, in your waking state or somewhere close to the waking state. Let's say 15 hertz is a beta brainwave, and that it should ramp you down over the course of the audio until it reaches that deeper state. Let's say we're going to all the way to delta 3 hertz. So it'll ramp you down to those 3 hertz, and then it will hold you in those 3 hertz for the duration of the audio. And some people actually believe that you should ramp back up too, to a certain extent. Other people believe that if you're gonna have somebody meditate at 3 hertz, that you should just start them out right at those 3 hertz and kind of let the brain figure out the difference. Now, my opinion is that the ramp is important for 2 reasons. For one, I do believe that the audio is more effective at bringing you to that 3 hertz if you give it the chance to start where you're at and gradually bring it down so your brain can follow those frequencies into that 3 hertz. But also importantly, for meditation audio, a meditation program, even though in truth there's really nothing natural about being able to meditate at, say, 3 hertz or even 7 hertz, just by strapping on a pair of headphones and sitting there with your eyes closed, you're at a very accelerated meditative journey as far as your brainwaves go. However, I do think that it's important to mirror a more natural progression of meditation as possible. So if you sat down to meditate all natural, you're not going to go from your waking beta brainwave state all the way down to, say, a 3 hertz state in 5 to 10 minutes. That's just not going to happen naturally. Of course, your brain's got to calm down. You've got to draw in your focus and withdraw from your senses. And gradually, your brain's going to slow down until you kind of ramp down into that 3 hertz. So I set up the missing link audios, each of them, to follow this pattern. So it starts you out not at 15 hertz, but it starts you out at 12 hertz for most audios. And over the course of a half hour, it'll gradually lead you down to the desired brainwave state, and it will hold you in that brainwave state for another half hour. So you've noticed your first month that it holds you in an alpha state after a half hour. So we start out at high alpha. The next month, it'll ramp you down to a little bit lower alpha and hold you there for another half hour. And the next month, it ramps you down all the way to theta, and so on and so forth until you're at the very bottom of delta in the 1 hertz, 0.5 hertz, basically as low as you can go. And the reason we do it that way is, again, to simulate more of a natural meditative journey. Of course, you're not going to be able to just sit down and meditate in delta brainwaves right off the bat. So each month you go a little bit deeper, and finally you're as deep as you can go. So another thing that I want you to know about our audios is that they've been set up with a pretty amazing bonus for you. If you look at the title of your audios in your MP3 player or laptop or whatever you're using to play them, you'll see that there's a secondary purpose for both of your meditation audios in parentheses. I know one of the audios for month 1 resonates at the Earth's magnetic field, so it gives you an ability to kind of ground yourself. Every single meditation audio that you receive in the missing link has a secondary purpose. And what this means is that by the time you're done moving through the 7-month program, you're going to have a whole collection of over 14 audios that you can use for all the various purposes that these specific frequencies have. So in essence, you're basically buying 2 programs for the price of 1, because you're going to be able to use these audios for all sorts of things once you're done meditating with these audios. And then the last thing I want you to understand is that starting from month 2 to the end of the program, we give you a bonus audio each month that's in one of the more higher, or we should say faster, brainwave states. For example, high alpha or beta or even gamma. And the reason we do this is because one of the number 1 complaints that people have had, or one of the less desirable side effects, you could say, of a brainwave entrainment meditation program is that people can tend to feel a little bit spacey. One of the reasons is because of all the endorphins that your brain will start making after you start listening to these audios. You do have elevated levels of serotonin, melatonin, HGH, and these are beneficial. However, With those, on top of the fact that you're meditating in these deep, slow brainwave states that you're just not used to, it can have a tendency to make you feel a little spacier, maybe even feel like you have kind of a natural high going. Now, I'm sure that you're a busy person. I know I am. We created these audios for you to help bring the brain back up into a more resourceful state, or a more speedy, kind of sharper, more cognizant brainwave range. So you can listen to these audios as you need to kind of help boost yourself back up into that day-to-day focusing kind of mind state that you need to make it through your day. And on top of that, of course, you reap the benefits of some of these audios as well. You know, some of them are going to help you feel more happy. Some of them are going to help increase IQ, or help you develop the frontal lobe of your brain. So they have some cool side benefits as well. So in general, those are the four most important things I want you to understand about the audios. Of course, if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to email me. Again, it's ashton@brainwavelove.com. And do check out the links below. We've got a great knowledge and resources section on our website that I'm going to link, where you can pretty much figure out just about anything or answer any questions you have about brainwave entrainment. So that's it for now. Do stay tuned for my next video. We're going to go in depth as to the energy body practices and kind of the more yogic side of the missing link. So stay tuned, and we'll talk again soon.